What's up, everybody? Another week closer. Preseason week 2. There's like 12 games going on today. Hope you're enjoying them. Looking for those injuries. That's always the key for me is, all right, I know they're going to play 1 or 2 series, but who's getting injured? It just blew up my entire plan and I have to redo all my top 20s. Speaking of top 20s, we're going to do the top 20 wide receivers now. And this is the first of a 3-part series. I usually go all the way to 60 wide receivers. That way, if you're in a best ball league like I am and a lot of other people, for that matter, then you'll know who to pick from. All right, so top 20 wide receivers, the standard assumptions are going to apply. We're talking PPR leagues. We're talking guys who are going to play at least 16 games. We don't really factor in injuries, although I'm going to touch on that for sure. We'll throw in some strength of schedule stuff. We'll talk about some bye week issues, potential guys to just completely avoid. So let's jump right into it. Number 1, as a big shocker, is Jamar Chase. Now, this guy's probably going to push 2,000 yards this year. 17 touchdowns sounds like a lot. I mean, honestly, if his cohort Higgins can stay healthy, Higgins might steal a couple of those. And we'll talk about Higgins a little bit later because he's going to be prevalent in this list, that's for sure. But Jamar Chase, number 1 overall, all confidence there. For the number 2 wide receiver, I struggle with this one a little bit, but I went with CeeDee Lamb. Now he's going to get Dak back. He's got Pickens on the other side to draw away some coverage, so maybe he won't see double coverage as much, although Pickens really is not anywhere near CeeDee Lamb's talent caliber. CeeDee Lamb, I think, if he's healthy, Dak is healthy, he gets back up into those 14, 15 touchdowns, and he pushes for number 2. That's kind of an easy no-brainer. And number 3, I have St. Brown. I'm a Detroit fan. I actually thought he might fall 1 or 2 steps here, but I'm going to keep him in number 3, even though I see Jamison Williams coming on strong this year, possibly getting into the top 20. More on that later. But I still think, even with a new offensive coordinator, Detroit continues to push the ball. Goff is there. I think it still sets him up for at least top 3, top 5. At number 4, I have Justin Jefferson. Now, I know he's a little bit banged up. I think he's going to start the season just fine. Even if he misses the first week, I still think he finishes as number 4. He's going to get double-digit touchdowns. I'm a little bit worried about J.J. McCarthy, though. I think he's got, some rookie issues, some accuracy issues. He hasn't seen all the defenses yet. They're going to have to kind of bring him in. But as we saw with Darnold last year, Jefferson makes everyone look better. So I'm not worried about J.J. McCarthy, but I do think if you grab Jefferson at the 4 spot and you're not going to pass him by if he's available, you're going to have to temper your expectations just a little bit. He might finish like 7 or 8 overall, but this isn't a guy you can just pass on. You have to grab him. That's why I have him at number 4. At number 5, I have Drake London. It's really not a surprise, actually, because last year he finished number 5. I don't think he can break into the top 4 unless, of course, Justin Jefferson falls back. Amon-Ra has some problems, those kinds of things. I don't think he can get there. Last year, he saw 158 targets. That's a lot. Does he push for 170? Potentially. I think he's going to move up in his total points, but I'm not sure he cracks the top 5. I do have him out in front of Brian Thomas, who was number 4 last year. So that's kind of a big deal in my mind. But London, he'll probably have double-digit touchdowns this year, probably push 1,400 yards. That makes him a solid number 5 overall. At number 6, I have Neighbors. This is a dangerous pick. He's got a shoulder injury right now. He's nursing that. He needs time to get together with his new quarterback. Everything's pretty much new as far as I'm concerned in New York. Every year it is because they just stink. But the bottom line is he's going to be targeted like he was last year 170 times. Are they going to have more success with a new quarterback? Yes, I think they will. So that's why I think at number 6, he should be just fine. And last year he was number 6 as well. So that wasn't really a shocker. At number 7, I have Brian Thomas. So I have him pulling back a little bit from last year. I think the addition of Hunter, new staff, question at running back, to be honest. And I think there's so much at stake right now for Jacksonville. I think everybody's going to get canned. I thought they were going to late last year, and they held on to a couple of people. But, I mean, seriously, they could clean house this year if Jacksonville doesn't make the playoffs. And I like Thomas a lot. I think, though, with poor quarterback play, this could be an issue. I wouldn't pass on him at number 7, but that's where I have him. You could easily see him fall outside of the top 10, though, this year. At number 8, I have Cortland Sutton. Now, last year, he finished just outside the top 10, I think, at number 11. This year, I have him inside the top 10, and I think that's with good reason. Bo Nix is looking great. I think you're going to see more targets for Sutton. He's really showing that he is a high-caliber wide receiver. He only had 8 touchdowns last year. I think he pushes double digits this year. You give him 150 targets, he catches 100 balls, 10, 11 touchdown, pushes 1,200 yards. I mean, that's easily a top 10 finish, so I have him at number 8. Number 9, I have Nakua. Now, I think he's going to make a comeback this year. Yeah, Stafford's kind of hurting, but even with the issues of last year, even with the fact that he was a little bit banged up, he still put up some really, really nice numbers while he played. I mean, he was averaging almost 19 points a game. That's really huge. So if he can stay healthy, stay away from those knee injuries, hopefully he doesn't have anything catastrophic, but if he can stay healthy, I mean, he's going to push 150 targets, maybe 100 catches, double-digit touchdowns. And that's with Adams on the other side. And that's another reason why I have him here in the top 10, because Adams draws coverage away from Nakua. They're both top wide receivers, and Stafford's just blessed, but looking one side or the other. I mean, he lost Kupp, and now he gets Adams. So, I mean, I'm looking at Nakua here to finish top 10, and I think an easy no-brainer. At number 10, I know it sounds crazy, I have T. Higgins. Now, let's talk about this. In the history of the NFL, it is extremely rare for wide receiver teammates to both finish in the top 10 in a PPR or in fantasy football for that matter. The last time it happened was Hill and Waddle back in 2022. And then you got to push it back like 20, 30 years to the old, if you were playing fantasy football back in the 90s, Herman Moore type Detroit Lions. So honestly, it's kind of funny when you look at the statistics on this. To put T. Higgins this high is kind of crazy. I'm taking a little bit of a risk here, but what I can say is he only played 12 games last year, and he almost had 19 points per game. So if he can push that, if he plays 15, 16 games, sees like maybe 130 targets, I mean, that could easily put him in there if he has double-digit touchdowns again. It's not really that big of a deal. Now, Jamar Chase, would he pull back in this case? I don't think so, because when Higgins was gone last year, they had to find other guys like Yoshivas and everyone else to sub in. But with Higgins on the field, they push the ball more. He gets more points. I could easily see Higgins at number 10. Now, Higgins is not going as the 10th guy off the board. He's going somewhere in like the third round, maybe even the fourth round. Depends on what your league is. Could be early third. It could be late third. It could be early fourth. When you look at his ADP versus the kind of value he can return, that's huge. He's usually going right before Tyreek Hill. I would take Higgins over Hill at this point. I think Hill, he might be on a downward spiral. I don't know about Hill. All right, and that's a good segue. So that's your top 10. All right, let's take a pause and talk about, just like we did with the running backs. I don't really care if any one of these guys from like 2 through 9 swap 3 places either way. I'm happy with all 10 of these guys. I think if you have anybody in the top 7, you should dominate with that. And, 8, 9, and 10, they all have the ability to get into the top 7, even top 5, with some injuries in front of them. Obviously, Chase all by himself at the top of the mountain, as long as he's healthy, that's the best pick you can have, especially if you're in the first round and somebody takes a running back in front of you, you're the number 2 pick, and you're like, yes, I'll take Jamar Chase. I'm not unhappy with anybody in the first 10 picks if I get one of those. So if they fall out of the top 10, they go to like 12 or 14, it's still a solid pick. I just want them to be healthy, because these guys can put up monster numbers for you, averaging somewhere between 18, 19, even 20 points a game. And that's a difference maker. And a lot of these guys can actually win your week for you, especially like guys like Jamar Chase with 44 points. I will say one thing about Malik Neighbors, the number 6 pick. He has bye week 14. Traditionally, week 14 is championship week for the regular season. So if you're depending on him to win you the season, you're going into it the last week, you got Neighbors, you're like, oh, I just got to win this one. It'll get me in the playoffs. He's not going to be there. And that's tough. I mean, everyone gets bye weeks and you have to deal with that. But having it on that particular week, that's rough. All right, let's talk about picks 11 through 20. At number 11, I have Nico Collins. And Nico looked really good today. If you watched him on TV, he looked fantastic, caught a touchdown. Obviously, when this guy is healthy, he is one of the best. And having him at 11 is almost like a slap in the face, because the guy averages almost 18 points a game when he's on the field. 7 touchdowns and over 1,000 yards before he got hurt last year. He only played 12 games, and he still finished in like the top, 26, 25 wide receivers with only 12 games. So if he gives you a full season, which we're trying to assume, I have him at number 11, but it was so hard to squeeze him into the top 10. I think he could replace like Sutton, Nakua. He could push those guys down. I just think that those guys are going to have tremendous years. And I think Houston's going to struggle a bit because, well, let's face it, Nico's the only receiver, in my opinion. I know there's a couple others, but Nico is really the guy who they have to push the ball with. The running game is kind of suspect without Mixon. And the defense looks pretty good. O-line could use some help. And Stroud, he's got some confidence issues. So if they start out strong, Nico healthy, I mean, he could easily push top 10. And I have him at 11. I think if you can grab him and he's going off early in the second round, that's an outstanding pick. At number 12, I have JSN. Now, I know JSN is partnered with Darnold, and I don't like Darnold, and that's not a secret to anybody. But they look good today in preseason game 2, had some good chemistry. They're pushing the ball well. They've got some good pieces around them, especially with Kupp there. Kupp is going to draw some coverage away from JSN. The running game looks strong. I know it's preseason, but with a new quarterback, you would think, okay, things are going to get a little bit crazy. They might not be on the same page. Right now, they look like they are. JSN last year had a really strong year. He was in the top 10. I think he pushes for that again this year. Kupp might pull a little bit from him. I mean, he had 137 targets last year and 6 touchdowns. I think JSN is going to get more touchdowns. He could easily push for the top 10. But when you look at where he's going off as far as ADP is concerned, he's coming off in the 3rd round. If you can get a top 12 guy in the 3rd round, that's really good value. So if you can get him, I would go grab him. At number 13, I've got Ladd McConkey. Now, I like Ladd McConkey a lot. I think he's great. And I would have had him a little bit higher, except they just picked up Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen and Ladd McConkey have a very similar skill set. They're both great hands, and they run shorter routes. Now, Keenan Allen, he used to be a deeper threat, but I don't think he's got that in him anymore. So I think this offense is going to look like running with some short throws. Now, Ladd, he's got a little bit more speed than Keenan does, and he's a lot younger. So if he stays healthier, which I think he will versus Keenan Allen, I think he's going to see similar numbers as he did last year. And last year, he finished in the top 15. And I have him at 13, so I don't think he really goes anywhere. I just think he stays put. But, 13 is a really good place for him to be. At 14, I have Jacoby Myers. This isn't that big of a stretch. Last year, he did finish in the top 20. I just think he's going to get a little bit more love with Geno at quarterback this year. I think he's going to see about a 10% uptick in targets, probably 2 more touchdowns. And if the running game is successful, they'll push the ball and he'll get more opportunities in the red zone. And I think that's why he makes that leap and finds himself at 14. At 15, I have McLaurin. Now, McLaurin, there was an update for him. He just came off of the PUP list, so he can technically start to practice if he wants to. I think his whining and crying about his contract and everything, he's 30 years old, or he will be next month. He's still an outstanding contributor. He had 13 touchdowns last year, 117 targets. That's a really good target to touchdown ratio. That's pretty awesome. I think he takes a step back from that. I think he sees maybe 10 touchdowns. He might push more yardage, but he's going to drop in touchdowns. I think you're going to see that this year. And if he doesn't play week 1, that makes him in danger because last year he played all 17 games. At number 16, I have Jerry Jeudy. This is a dangerous pick. Last year, Cleveland didn't have much to play for, but they had a quarterback who had no problem throwing the ball because they just didn't care. And what did he see? 145 targets, 4 touchdowns. There's not a lot of touchdowns in Cleveland, and their running game is kind of suspect right now. Coaching, the whole organization it's not in a good place. Jerry Jeudy, though, immensely talented. Whatever quarterback he's going to have thrown into him, and I haven't even have they figured out who they're going to be? I think it's Flacco right now, but Flacco, he loves to throw the ball. He's got really good accuracy too. So I see Jerry Jeudy in a healthy season pushing for the same numbers that he had last year, maybe a couple extra touchdowns. I'm going to give him that. That's why I have him popping up to 16. At 17, Mr. Dependable, Mike Evans. And I love Mike Evans. I think he's as old as I am, but he's still getting it done. Double-digit touchdowns. What was it, last 3 years running? I think he's great. 110 targets. Only played 14 games last year, and that's what you get with Mike Evans. He's going to have a game or 2. He's going to be injured once or twice during the season. Nothing serious, hopefully, but he's probably not going to play all 17 games for you. And that's not a bad thing because he still puts up 17 points a game when he's in there. He can be a difference maker for you. All right, at number 18, boy, this is a reach, but I feel good about it. I have Ted McMillan. Ted McMillan, obviously rookie, so putting him in the top 20, that's That's a big deal, right? But he's really the only option on that team. And I mean, he's a beast. And if he gets 150 targets, I say he gets double-digit touchdowns. I think he's going to be the breakout rookie of this year. I could be totally wrong. This is a dangerous pick. I have him at 18. There's so many guys who could go here. You could put Tyreek Hill here at 18. A.J. Brown, if A.J. Brown gets healthy, I don't know if he's going to get healthy. Devonta Smith. I mean, there's so many people you could put in here at 18, but I really have the hope that this kid is going to be there. Opportunity is there. Potential is there. It's really based on his quarterback. And Carolina's going to be playing behind a lot. If he gets those opportunities, there's a chance he could turn it into something. All right, at number 19, I have Davante Adams. Yes, I have 2 Rams receivers in the top 20. It's happened before. Don't be surprised by it. He's on a new team, and he is still as dominant as anyone in the NFL. He can go up and get those contested balls. I mean, last year, even with Rodgers looking terrible, he put up over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns, 141 targets. He's going to see something similar to that. I know Nakua is probably going to get a little bit more love, but Davante Adams, if they single cover him, the ball is going that way. It is. So I see him finishing in the top 20, and I have him at 19, which is about 6 spots less than he did last year. So I see a little bit of a pullback, but still a top 20 wide receiver. All right, and number 20, and last but not least, I have Jameson Williams. There you go, ding. There it is. Another 2 wide receiver teammates in the top 20 is Detroit. That's right. And I know I'm just going to get a lot of hate here because I'm a Detroit fan, but I'm not wrong. Jameson Williams finished at 22 last year, and he only played 15 games. If you give him 16, 17 games, he's going to get there. He's going to get right there to number 20. And I think he's going to outperform Hill, who has issues, and all those other guys I haven't talked about yet. And there's plenty of other guys to talk about because this is only the top 20 show. So you're going to have to tune in next time to listen to 21 through 40. And with that, that's the end of our show for today. As always, I want to give a shout out to the men and women in uniform who protect the freedoms that we hold dear. Thank you for your service and sacrifice. And thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, follow us on X, YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts so you can stay up to date on our latest content. And until then, remember, established dominance isn't just a catchphrase, it's a commitment. Are you ready?